This is Matt Burgess, six-figure e-commerce entrepreneur based in Manchester who makes custom shoes for the biggest celebrities in the world like Ariana Grande, Kodak Black and Premier League football players. We're going to sit down and find out how he did it. Let's go.
How old are you, and can you tell me a little bit about your business?
Yes, I'm 26, and basically Matt B Customs is started off as customized footwear, but basically it's anything now, so accessories, any sort of product, so almost like an art collective, and we work on like a D2C level, so like direct to consumer, and then we also work with businesses and brands on like campaigns or just basically creating whatever they want to make that's like a custom product.
And this isn't a normal type of business. This seems quite niche, and
Yeah.
it's not something you see often. So how do you even get into a business like this?
It was just like pretty organic, to be fair. So I just wanted shoes that no one else had. I was in college, in a big college, buying like shoes from where I worked. So I worked at Shoe. Yeah, my collection was growing. My Instagram account was just shoes at the time and like a few photos of me and my girlfriend. I wanted shoes that no one else had, but I couldn't afford like the more expensive pairs. I looked online about painting shoes, and that just came because someone that's close to me and who lived nearby that I looked up to was an artist and was really like had a really big following at the time. He was like sponsored by Adidas and stuff, so I was like idolizing him. And he basically went on holiday, took a load of graffiti pens and started like drawing all over his shoes. And that was the first time I'd seen someone like use a shoe as a canvas. So I just got on Google and was looking for like forums and stuff on how to do it. And yeah, came across the paint, realised that what he'd done with the pens wasn't quite durable enough that you could wear them like extensively. So it was just trial and error. So I started painting my own. And then at the time, there's only like 2 Huarache silhouette like colourways in the UK. So everyone was just wearing the same shoe. So then I basically just painted the colour red to like a colour purple. And they were pretty eye-catching still, even though it was a small change. And people around college, when I was wearing them, were just like, what are they? So then instantly, I started doing them for other people, selling it as like a service. And a lot of times at the start, I was just working on like used shoes. So it wasn't like brand new stuff. It was just whatever shoe they had. They might have worn it loads and they wanted to like give it a new lease of life, or it might have been something that they've just bought this new shoe and they want me to do it to it. So at the time, it was just like doing it for local people. Set up an Instagram page, started using that as like a portfolio, and then yeah, started doing them for other people, and then that audience was then growing on Insta, getting like reposts from King of Trainers and pages like that. That's how like the audience grew, and then it was less about doing them for people in my local area and more about selling them online and brand new shoes.
So did you sort of like ride that wave with the social media?
Yeah, so I think like back in the day on Insta, you'd just be able to get such good reach of people that didn't know who you were.
Just from posts as well, before even all the
yeah, the
platform
post,
videos?
but what I fully thought was the best thing was getting posted off other people. So like King of Trainers, like Franklin, I owe so much to him at the start because he would like repost my images, and that was like tapping into like 50K's, which was a lot of followers, like 50K's worth of trainer lovers, and they were able to then come on my website, and for an extra 60 quid they could buy like a brand new pair of Air Force Ones with a unique design on them. So obviously it was just playing around with like pop culture and stuff like that, and it was just timed well. I think it was just all about timing, and obviously I didn't know that I was timing it well. It was more just a case of like right place, right time, right product, and that's kind of then what made it grow on Instagram.
So did you start off just taking orders over DMs?
Yeah, literally just DMs, and then obviously the more time that happened, I then started to do my own designs. So rather than it being like me doing a design for you and you tell me what you wanted, I'd more try and either sway you into one of my new designs so that I could then sell that design, or I'd just buy the shoe from like a Foot Locker or whatever, paint on it, take a photo of it, and then that'd be my website product, but I'd hold no stock. So I'd then go to the shops. If I got an order for each size UK7 on the website, I'd go to the store with the money that they've bought, buy the shoe, paint it, send it out. So it's like the website might have had like 40 products on it, but I didn't have a single pair of shoes or stock in the business.
It was sort of like print on demand, you could
Yeah.
say at the start.
Yeah, drop shipping, print on demand. It was basically just the only thing that you've got the option to do when you're a young kid trying to make a business. Like there is no cash flow, like there is no profit like held, and yeah, obviously at the start you can't really spend the money that you're earning. It's got to be reinvested, but it was more just being reinvested in new colours of paints or new paint brushes, or trying to like buy different materials that I could try and like glue onto shoes and stuff. So yeah, it wasn't necessarily about trying to invest in a load of stock. It was just how can I look as professional as possible with as little budget as possible.
So was that quite a big factor for you to how you actually turned it into a proper business by being able to sell stuff before you had to pay for it?
Yeah, because I wasn't spending any money. I was only. It was like if I was doing nails. If I was a girl and I was doing nail appointments, like there was no stock. There
More
was
of a
just
service.
and yeah, that's followed right the way through. And even if it was my own design, say if someone came to me and said, "Oh, I love that Bart Simpson one that you've done," I'd be like, "Oh, what other shows do you like? Oh, you like Rick and Morty? Oh, let me do your Rick and Morty design instead." And then I'd do that Rick and Morty design, take a photo of that, go on my website. So not only was I like, in that transaction, I didn't even have to buy the shoe. I just sold the idea to someone and they gave me the shoe to then paint it. So it was very much a service, but from the outside, it's a product-based business.
I'm following you on social media for a while. One thing that definitely stands out is the type of people that you're working with. You've worked with some of the biggest celebrities that there is. Ariana Grande, H, multiple football players. How do you even get in touch with these people? And what's the advice you'd give with someone who's maybe got less of an online reach to actually start working with people like this?
Yeah, so it all comes in like loads of different ways. I think like at the start, it was more just trying to like get the product to the people. So one of the first like early people was like Pogba, and then he ended up wearing them loads, but that was just purely that I knew someone that was around him a lot, and so I was like, if I do you a free pair of shoes, would you get a pair to Pogba? So then I painted like a World Cup winning design, because they just won the World Cup, almost like a trophy that he could wear every day. So because of that, he was wearing them loads, so that looked like it was like one of my clients. But little did everyone know that first pair that he was wearing, I just did a free pair. So that happened the same for Rashford. Like I knew of Dane because my best mate's sister was going out with him, so it's just a case of like utilising someone that's close to them, and so that they have an incentive to do it, I'd do them a free pair, so that they were like the middleman in the project.
So you're not relying on having to get straight in touch with the guy that you want to work with. You're focusing on trying to get to people around them.
Yeah.
To then leverage that relationship to get in there.
Yeah, because obviously like they might be a really well-known footballer, so they're not going to check the DMs because there might be hate or something in there. But like their best mate who they know, love and trust, if you can tap into them and get your way in, that's just an easy way to be able to tap into them. And obviously if you're doing them a free pair of shoes and they rate the product, like I think the main thing is you've got to have a good product. If I was selling a t-shirt with a brand name on it, they might not have done it, but because I was giving them something that they would have wanted, that's where it kind of became less of something where I've got to like pay them or anything like that.
Does that translate to more sales but selling directly to customers?
I think subconsciously it does. Obviously, I didn't sell that design that Pogba bought. I just sold the concept of custom shoes to other people. But I think just the notoriety of having like a client like that, or having, because obviously he then came back and did actually buy a lot of other pairs. So there was then loads of different outfits that I got of him wearing it. So even though I've never met Paul Pogba, it felt like he's like one of our like really well-known clients, and we have done a lot of stuff for him. But then it works in other ways. Like there's like when we got Ariana Grande, that was purely Instagram organic. Highsnobiety reposted a photo that one of our customers had taken of her shoes with a matching Dior bag, and Ariana Grande followed that Highsnobiety page. That she saw the post, followed us, DM'd us, and was like, "I want a pair." And then she became a customer for like 3 years, going back and forth with her.
Also, she got into contact with you.
Yeah. So she literally dropped us a DM, followed us, and at the time she was like the third most followed person on Instagram, and we've never done anything free for her. It's always been paid. Like, to be fair to her, I offered as well. I said, these are on me, these are free. And she was like, no, I'm not using a small creator, like a small business, and not paying. Like, because we worked with her for like 3 years, giving her like making different pairs. She then ended up giving us a shout out on Instagram, which was like literally like telling everyone of her followers where she got the shoes from. You couldn't write that. That's just like a bit of luck, a bit of like law of attraction. It's just kind of like, yeah, there's no formula to get that other than the fact that Instagram is a shareable website.
Would you say that you do get lucky, or do you create your own luck?
The whole idea of it compounds. Like the more years you're doing it, like obviously you've got the classic like word of mouth that's constantly working in your favor, but then you've also got like social media, which is like a tree with all these different sprouts of how people can find about you. And like sometimes people don't even have to follow you, they just have to know about you, and they might even mention it to someone else. So they don't even have to be like into what you do. It could just be like, as long as you're known, that then you can be found. So yeah, and there's different platforms. Obviously when I started, TikTok wasn't around. Instagram algorithms have changed, so you've had to diversify with other stuff. So there's loads of different ways to be found, but I think as long as you're just constantly on a mission of trying to be found, you'll be found by the right people.
So you've got to keep ahead of the loop and keep taking advantages of the different platform changes and different trends as well, yeah?
Yeah, 100%. Like think every 6 months it seems to change now. So it's just about not resting on your laurels and thinking you know the platforms, you know the algorithms, or you know how to make sales. It's just thinking with an open mind and looking at like what the best thing is for you at any one time.
Can you remember a massive mistake that you've made on your e-commerce site?
Not really, and obviously that's a shit answer, but I think, and it's not because I've got all the answers, I think it's more that, say if I was a clothing brand and I had to commit to a load of stock, I would have made loads of mistakes, but I think there's been loads of designs that I've made that have never sold a single pair, and that's just because it didn't hit. So it doesn't cost me loads because I've just had to buy the shoe in my time, and I'd rather trade my time for the possibility of earning more money. So there's been loads of times where I've like wasted my time on something, loads of times, but I wouldn't necessarily see it as an L. It's more just a case of like learning why it didn't quite work, or how it could be marketed better to be able to find the buyers that want that particular product, or changing something a little bit more so it makes people feel the need to buy it rather than just appreciate it and like it on Instagram. So it's just about like kind of learning and constantly critiquing yourself, but in a positive way, so that you're refining what you're doing.
Well, would you say this print on demand business model is allowed you to make more mistakes and offer more stock without the risk of having to design, say, a clothing brand and put the money down and take all that risk up front?
100%, because at that point the business had no overheads. I was doing it from my bedroom. The Shopify store had a monthly subscription to it. At the time it started on Big Cartel, so it's even cheaper.
Oh, so not even Shopify?
No, started on Big Cartel. So the overheads have kind of creeped up, but it's one of those things where early on there was never something where it's like, oh my god, I've not got money to like grow the business, because it was more just trying to be creative with what budget we did have. But it's always paid me, so I've always been able to do it as a full-time job.
Okay.
So as soon as like I kind of started doing it for people, I quit my retail job fairly soon because it was enough work that I could like earn money from it, and it's just been the same ever since. I've never stopped doing it. From the day that I started doing my own shoes, I've never stopped doing it. It's just been a complete like tunnel vision on this one thing.
And do you work 7 days a week?
No, like it changes. Like sometimes like I was, and like now I don't. I try and have Sundays off. But my girlfriend would say to you that I don't have Sundays off, and I'm on my phone.
Is you still thinking about it?
Yeah, I think it don't really ever leave you, because it's passion. It's not like something where you clock in and clock out. It's like I want to think about it. I want to make it better. I want to do it. It's just constantly working on that muscle.
And do you have to have that passion to be successful in business?
I think so. I think it needs to be like all you ever think about. I know we've spoken about it before, but I think it's like you got to view it like an athlete sort of thing, where it's like, how do you expect to get really good at something if it's not the only thing that you want to get really good at? I think if you try and like spread the board and try this business while you're trying that business, it's like, how are you really going to become the best when there's other people that are doing it day in, day out? It's just about channeling all that energy and like wanting to learn. So it's less about like motivation and more about like discipline, but also the eagerness of making it better or improving it.
One thing I definitely notice is people are starting businesses, and you know yourself, you go on social media, one guy's doing dropshipping, one guy's doing SMMA, there's all these different business models and everyone just seems to be doing well. I notice a lot of people are always getting sidetracked and jumping on different business models. So how important is focus, and what are the benefits that sticking with one business model is going to bring you instead of jumping ship?
So much. All you hear now is like, oh, get multiple streams of income. But how are you ever going to really get a proper income if you don't absolutely become the best in one field? I think like obviously some people niche down. Obviously this what we do is super niche. But I think it's just about like really not getting caught up with FOMO, because there's going to be times when there's something else that's shinier and better. But I think there's riches in niches if you lean into it more and more and more. So I think like you create your own economy, or you create your own pool of customers based off how good the work that you do. So something that was once niche can become completely mainstream. It's just about trying to not get into the temptations. Like I've done it. I had a clothing brand that I was trying to run simultaneously. If you're spreading yourself thin, you're not doing one thing very well. You're just doing a few things all right. And obviously if you carry on doing that, you're just going to end up finding yourself that, yeah, you've learned a lot, but you've not really like developed and like got one thing that you're amazing at. And yeah, you just need to make it so you're undeniably great at one thing, so no one can ever take it away from you. And you just got to make sure that that one thing that you're relying on has actually got the legs to make it a full-time job.
And if you were to meet an 18-year-old now, no money, no experience, they don't know what they want to do, but they want to be an entrepreneur, what advice would you give them?
I think it's just about skill set. Like, what can you offer other people? There's so many people that want to help out, so it's not just about like, how can I help you? I think it's more just about how can I give value to someone, and that's just about you learning And the thing is as well, like with the internet, it's not like back in the day where you got to read a book. Like you can tap into Reese Wabara or these like entrepreneurs that have had different perspectives on stuff. Like obviously Reese Wabara was like a footballer. You can go and listen to him talk for 12 hours on his YouTube. All of it's for free. So it's like whatever you want to learn and whatever you want to do, you can go and get it yourself. Like you can get books for free. You can do all sorts. So I think it's more just about utilizing your time and making sure that you don't just think that someone's out there to help you. You need to be undeniably helpful by adding value to them.
And plus, at this point, I think it's a fair value exchange as well, because if you had a successful entrepreneur giving advice out to one person, it wouldn't be worth their time. But because they're doing it on a macro scale, you can be one of the people who get the advice, and plus it's worth them to give it out because they're getting the social media personal brand growth from giving it, right? That's why I like these podcasts have taken off so much. So yeah, I really appreciate you giving your advice today. Got some real gems in there. Hopefully people can use them at home to their own business, and appreciate your time.
Anytime, brother. Ooh, did it again. Subscribe to Theo Clough.
Let's go.